music, comics, TV shows, movies. Right now I'm making a whole bunch of movies, voiceover acting. I'm known for dinosaurs. I'm known for a lot of things. Anything to avoid getting a job. That's what I do. That I like. So the way this talk originally started, I was invited to a Godzilla convention, and I've also been involved in Godzilla and Japanese robots, characters and things. And they wanted me to do a presentation. I said, well, I really don't know what to do. So we came up with this idea of ask on anything. And I'll be glad to ask anything. I'll be looking at it, I'll tell you straight out, maybe things you might not want to hear. But we just, as long as it doesn't, you don't ask me anything about politics, sex, or religion. And then we're cool, we're clear. So anybody has any questions whatsoever, just shoot. And you're shooting a picture, so you're shooting, right? Yes?
What was it like working on Masters of the Universe?
Well, Masters of the Universe was just a job, and the way it came about was I was working freelance for Western Publishing Company. I was doing a lot of comics for them, big little books, all kinds of things, children's books. And they were trying to get me as much work as I could, because I was married then, I had a wife to support, and so they wanted me to make a living, and they would come up with all these other projects, and one of them was Masters of the Universe, which was then called The Fighting Foeman. And all they had photographs, Polaroid photographs of, I think, 4 of the characters that all looked the same. It was all like the same mold, you know. One they had a name for, 2 they had a name for. One was He-Man. Believe me, I would never make up the name He-Man for a character. And if you saw Scott Shaw's slideshow last night, you realize that He-Man really is a gorilla. I think Man at Arms, or Man of Arms was a character. Then they had a picture of the castle. The castle, there were bad Polaroids. The castle looked gray in the castle, all right? So they weren't, well, here's what they wanted me to do. They wanted me to make up names of the other characters and also introduce new characters and come up with origins and backstories and powers and that kind of thing. And then after that, they wanted me to come up with a whole lot of other characters for future projects and write the 4 little, what are now called mini comics. I call them, they didn't look like comics to me. They were booklets, the 4 booklets that came out with the first wave of toys. And they weren't paying very much money, very little, and I wasn't getting any credit. But I didn't want to turn down the job because I grew up in an environment, even though the Empire Strikes Back novel was real hot at that time, and I was making pretty good money from that. I was getting movie offers. I didn't want to, it's like, when you grow up poor, if you get wealthy, you still use the coupons when you go to the Ralphs, I had that mindset, so I didn't want to turn the work down. And I thought, they told me, the stories would involve futuristic types of weapons, but also magic. And to me, it sounded ridiculous because the things just didn't gel. It was like a hodgepodge of things. So I didn't want to put much work into it. I said, they're not paying me a lot, I'm going to get credit, so what do I have to have some fun here. So I wanted to fill it with in-jokes. And those books are loaded with in-jokes. And to give an example of one, the castle looked gray in the photos. I didn't know it was going to be green. So my then future ex-wife, maiden name was Gray, and it was a skull. So I called it Gray Skull, and that's where that name came from. They didn't have any female characters at all at that time. I wanted to put some girls in to make the story work, So it would just be a bunch of guys running around in those outfits looking like somebody out of West Hollywood Halloween parade or something, So I came up with these girl characters. One, and again, I wasn't trying to put too much thought or time into it. And I came up, I remembered a kid show that I used to watch when I was a little boy called Smilin' Ed's Gang, which became Andy's Gang when Smilin' Ed died, and I took it over. And he would sit down and read these stories about an Indian Mahout, an elephant boy, who had an elephant named Tila. So I said, well, that just popped in my head. So I I called the Elephantilla, and they didn't, oh, you can't have any girls in these stories, any women in these stories, because little boys are gonna buy these toys. They don't want them. And then somebody got the bright idea that they could duplicate the mold and make all kinds of other characters. So I came up with the sorceress, that was another one, put her in there. And the stories kind of worked. I wrote